isn't it?
Yeah. Every time when you install one of these kits, you need to follow the manufacturer's instructions. Got to make sure everything complies to how the manufacturer tells us to install the system. Obviously, if we don't follow these guidelines, what will happen at that case? It won't. Their guarantee won't stand.
So it's null and void.
It's null and void. So
right,
when we install these systems, we've always got to follow the manufacturer's specifications.
Great. Kingspan.
Yep. This is a Kingspan solar collector. What we're going to do, obviously, first and foremost, when we get onto site, we make sure all the kit comes from the plumb centre. We just check that we've got everything here on site, so that when we start an installation, we can complete an installation. The components to the roof, we'll hoist it or winch it to the roof, at which point, obviously, it's safe, manual handling's all taken care of, and we've put that all in as risk assessments.
Right, so we're going to fix these down to the rafters now. Yeah?
Yeah. Firstly, obviously, the bars come as they are there. No attachments to them, just your nuts and bolts.
No attachment to them, just nuts and bolts.
Okay, yes, because we need to attach something to them so we can screw it to the roof.
Okay.
So the only attachments would be nuts and bolts then?
Yes. Yeah. So what happens then is, to that bar, we'll connect these straps, which are what holds the solar panel into position on the roof.
So if you can look at your screen, you can probably see this strap here goes underneath the tiles. It's very thin, but it's stainless steel, and then it's screwed to the rafter. And then what we do is we bring this tile, if you stay with it, we bring this tile over the top, and then that tile goes down, so you can see that is then watertight, and the bracket continues to come up and it holds all this into position.
Mark, just see on top of them are a sort of clamp. Those will clamp the horizontal components in shortly. Those come pre-assembled straight out of the box. Those are already attached. The straps that the guys referred to, the brackets, those are the only things which you simply use a pre-attached nut and bolt to attach directly onto the rails. And I think another big benefit of the system is that, as Chris mentioned, the tile slides directly back on top of the straps. So as you look at these straps, the roof itself has not been drilled, at least the roof material. It's directly fitted onto the trusses. We do have other roof kits available, but this would typically be our most popular one because, you know, it's peace of mind for the end customer that their roof does not have to be drilled for the roof kit itself.
Yeah.
Installer's point of view, one of the features with this particular product, the guys are only installing 10 tubes at the moment. We would normally install at least 20 or 30 tubes for a household. And the advantage is the exact same roof kit that the guys are currently fitting is what you would use for the 20 and 30 tubes as well.
Right,
So you still just have the 4 brackets. So again, as the guys are saying, they're making it look easy, but it is exactly the same equipment. All you would do is space the vertical rails further apart for a 20 tube. And the short rails that you see there that are just over, well, Chris's shoulder width, not mine, come in the box with the manifold. So that's how the system is sized.
And what's the typical?
The standard warranty is 5 years, but we run a accredited installer course. So anyone who's a trained and registered plumber can come on the course, and you can actually offer a 20-year warranty. So it's the longest warranty on a tube product on the market. And that's on the tube itself, thanks. So you see here the tube, just to explain what this is. It appears as though we've got a unit which is not insulated, but in fact it's completely the opposite. We're using a vacuum, which is the most natural and really the best type of insulation that you can have. So we've got this little fin, this absorber plate, which absorbs the irradiation from the sun. It does convert this into heat energy, and it heats a pipe on the back with this particular unit. This contains a very small volume of a liquid, which boils at only 30 degrees. So at 30 degrees, that liquid turns to a vapor, rises up inside the pipe, and heats a condenser at the top. Just bear in mind that the blue surface is the active surface of the unit. And just a couple of other things to mention just at this end of the tube. You'll see that this end of the tube is completely closed and sealed, so the liquid does not flow through this. This enables the installers to attach the tubes after a system is commissioned, and also if they ever need to remove a tube, they don't need to drain the system. 2 other benefits which are worth mentioning. This contains a temperature limiter, which protects the collector achieving extremely high temperatures in stagnation conditions. So it's one of the ways that we protect the fluid and control the pressure in the system. And lastly, but most importantly, The seal that we have inside every single evacuated tube that we manufacture is a hermetic metal to glass seal. And hopefully you can just see that that allows us to suspend the copper away from the glass, and that stops the expansion of the copper damaging the glass, this hermetic seal is one of the reasons that we can offer the full 20-year warranty if it's installed correctly.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, back over to you. How are we doing?
Slide these in the manifold, so we'll lift this lid off. And then we've got to ensure these go up here. Get these rubbers on. Right, are you going to push it, Stephen? Are you pushing it? There we go, we're in now. Make sure the rubber's over. Are we running straight? It looks straight to me.
So, Mark, once you start,
do as
how
rough as
quickly,
I am.
presume these start to heat up as soon as you put them in, don't they? Or what
That's
happens?
right. And let's say in direct sunlight, if you've got very strong direct sunlight, the tube will remain deceptively cold. That's because because of the vacuum, the heat cannot transfer from the absorber to the glass. However, the condenser at the top of the tube can get particularly hot.
Hi, Mum.
So you'll see just at the manifold that Chris is guiding the condensers into the manifold. Those pockets are completely separate from the manifold in a sense. So the pockets receive the condenser, and as soon as that's installed, the system will heat up. And one of the traditional problems people have with commissioning solar thermal systems is the fact that the units do start to heat up straight away, and that causes problems whenever you're commissioning the system. What you would really do is fill the system with the antifreeze and commission this particular unit, and then go back on the roof and insert the tubes. And again, that's one of the advantages with this one.
Putting these tubes in now that really are easy. There's one good thing about this system is that, quite rightly, if we're working on a new build property, we don't have to install the tubes at that point. We can go back and install them later, because we know new builds, social housing, you can get the kids coming round and throwing stuff at the tubes, collectors, and breaking them. Whereas this one specifically, because of how we can install it, we can commission it, the plumbers can commission it on site, and then we can go back a few weeks later to put this in place in situ, which obviously protects the system while there's nobody looking after the properties.
And Mark, can I just ask you, what about the roof pitch? How important is it, the pitch of the roof?
The number of tubes to the demand and the roof pitch are things which are really dictated by the end user's profile of how they use their energy. So we would say a typical pitch is 0.7 multiplied by the latitude, but to make that simple, it's about a 35 to 40 degree pitch, which conveniently is what the standard sort of roof pitch is. If we were fitting a system for, let's say, a school, which has a more of a demand during the semester time than the summertime, you could elevate that to be a steeper pitch of maybe perhaps 45 degrees.
And if you've got a flat roof, you can put an A-frame it or
That's right.
Yeah.
We have a couple of options with a flat roof. If you have a flat roof, we've got an A-frame, as you say, where we can then set a more accurate angle. And with larger systems, it's worth doing that, because a few percent can mean several hundred or several thousand units. We also have a unit separate from this one. It looks like the exact same tube, but it's actually called a direct flow, and it operates on a different principle where it's completely pumped. And that particular unit, you'll see on our stand, can be laid almost completely flat. So that means that it minimizes wind loading, shading, also helps people with planning permission in sensitive areas and things like that. And one other thing to mention, the guys were saying about damage to collectors on the roof. I would honestly say you'd be very unfortunate if that happened. Footballs, golf balls. We've actually got some customers put videos online and things which you can see where they hit, balls or hurling balls at the tubes, and they're actually very robust. They do have a European hail impact test, which is not mandatory in Europe. It's optional. We've had this for about 6 or 7 years since it was introduced. It's now mandatory in Ireland, which is useful because I'm based in Northern Ireland. And it became mandatory in Ireland, which helped us with one of the recent certifications in Ireland.
Brilliant.
So is
Chris,
that to do with like the hailstone test? Yeah,
that's
so
right.
if it's great big hailstones, ram on top of them, they're not going to shatter.
That's right. The actual test is a 150 gram weight. So if you think of an iPhone 4, that's 134 grams. So it's more than 10% heavier than your iPhone. And it's dropped from about 2.5 meters, which is probably the midpoint of where the television screen is, to the floor where I'm standing. So that's all the tubes in the test have to withstand 5 impacts.
Brilliant. Christopher.
Has anybody got an iPhone? I can throw it at it then. Right, so now we've got that in position. Obviously, we've got a plumber in here. Let's have a... Yeah, he's there. Right, so he's now inside working on commissioning the system internally with the pipe work. So he needs to get his pipe work through this roof surface, through one of these solar deck lead weather slates, and on to the end of the manifold. So that's why we introduced this. If we can zoom into this, this is made of silicon, so it will reach high temperatures. So those of you that know solar thermal, they go way above 100-degree boiling point. They can go above 200 degrees. So this weatherproof flash in here, the material it's made of needs to be able to go up to 250 degrees Celsius. So these solar deck lead slates are designed for that purpose. You can buy these in Plum Centre across the UK. And this is the type of lead slate you need to use to get the pipe work from the manifold and through and into the plumber. Now, have we got? Are we now going on to what happens inside?
We are. Richard.